recording and know what we've done. Basically, my agenda today is to discuss about a few things related to grammar and how to think about grammatical errors in uh, writing and yeah, especially in our case, it would be writing. There are some other tests wherein grammar is tested separately, but here we would be talking about some rules of grammar which come very handy while writing. So, there are so many things that we think about. And if we get a framework to think correctly, it becomes very easy to take care of grammar, isn't it? So, when we say grammar, there are so many things that come in our mind. So, what does grammar comprise of? When I ask you that you have to take care of grammar, what exactly does it mean? This is a question to all of you. So, in case you're supposed to take care of grammar, in case you're supposed to write grammatically correct English, what are you supposed to take care of? So, yeah, you think about use of punctuations, you think about tenses, you think about subject verb agreement, you think about proper use of pronouns, you think about, to a certain extent, flow of content, because if you talk about writing and grammar, then the content should make meaning. I mean, you should be able to convey what is there in your mind, so it should be put in. So you have to take care of flow as well. It means it has to be cohesive. um, so there's lots of things which when we talk about grammar, so grammar is not something which is just one. There are lots of things that we are supposed to take care of, and especially when we talk about IELTS writing, they also expect you to write some complex and compound sentences also, which means a little bit about the sentence structure, isn't it? All these things come in our mind when we talk about the grammar range and accuracy, isn't it? Now, how it becomes a little messed up when we think about all these things and translate it into something practical, which means when you want to write something, when you want to take care of all these things, sometimes you deliberately use some difficult structures to showcase your grammar, or sometimes you miss upon one or two things. So it becomes a little cumbersome to handle, isn't it? That, like, I want to get good marks in grammar and my writing. So do I have to deliberately add some words or structures? Do I have to deliberately add some complex sentences? Is the question. Is it like grammar is something which is deliberate or something natural? So here we are going to have a framework to think about grammar, and since it is one aspect on which you would be tested, how to think about it and how to make sure that you get good marks as far as grammatical usage is concerned. In an ideal situation, the best way to be good at grammar is to forget about it. You should be so good that you naturally write, or I mean, you naturally take care of all these things: correct punctuation, tenses, subject verb agreement, pronouns, flow, complex sentences, etc. So that's an ideal situation, that you should be writing stuff in such a manner that it is grammatically correct. At the same time, you're writing it such that it naturally has some elements of complex, compound, and simple sentences. So the person who evaluates your writing gets to understand that, oh, this is a fantastic piece, and he or she gives you full marks in grammar. But then sometimes it is not possible. Sometimes we end up committing some mistakes, and we need some kind of framework to make sure that whatever grammatical structures we use are correct, At the same time, we showcase different range of grammar in our writing. So here we are going to discuss about a framework, about a formula, so to say, or a framework to think, or some reference for thinking about grammar. And after this, I'm also going to give you an exercise. Now, in IELTS or TOEFL or PT or any other test, grammar is not tested separately. But that does not mean that we should not prepare for grammar separately. So what I mean to say is this: you're not going to get these kind of questions in your test, but still I want you to work on these exercises to make sure that you become aware and conscious of thinking about grammar. When you do these exercises, I've sent something in the morning also. This was some very, very simple exercise by a trainer in Ujjain. I know this person personally, so he has got them recorded. The reason I liked them were they were very, very simple and straightforward. I don't know whether you get a chance to see it, but yes, you can always go through that as well. Apart from that, I would like you to do the exercises that I'm going to send. It would have around 44 questions, and the purpose of these exercises would be to reinforce all the concepts of grammar that you have to use in writing. But before that, I want to discuss a framework for working on grammar and making sure that you use the correct grammatical structures while uh, writing. So if I have to compile all the concepts of grammar into a small acronym, it would be I, M, P, A, C, T, and S, where I stands for illogical meaning. So sometimes we write, but it does not make sense, which means in that particular paragraph or in that particular context, we add a sentence which really does not fall in place. So although it is not strictly a grammatical error, but still it is an error. It's an error of cohesion and coherence. But then let's say you are writing about the advantages of something, and all of a sudden you write the disadvantage without giving a clue to the reader that see you are taking a U-turn. So something like a but or a however makes sense there. So that's what I call as illogical meaning. Some sentence or structure or thought which does not really follow that particular paragraph. I mean, which is not the theme of that paragraph. So you have to use some kind of discourse marker before that, and we call it as I or illogical meaning. M stands for modifiers. Now, what is a modifier? A modifier is of two forms. It could be either an adjective or an adverb. So we need to understand what is an adjective, what is an adverb. An adjective is something which qualifies a noun, and an adverb is something which qualifies a verb. Let's take an example. So Manpreen drives fast. Is this sentence correct? So we are talking about Manpreen and she drives fast. But then is this sentence correct or incorrect? I want to ask you, so you can tell me. Yes, Sushmita. Manpreen drives fast. Is this sentence correct or incorrect?
I think it's okay.
It's okay. What about you, Nancy?
I think it's not complete.
It's not complete. So let's make it complete.
So
Manpreen
Manpreen
drives a.
drives her car fast.
Okay, so you are saying that you should
Drives.
say what does she drive? Isn't it like implied that she drives fast? It could be a truck, it could be an aeroplane, but then whatever it is, she drives fast. I mean, as far as grammar is concerned, what is the problem in this? Manpreet, is Manpreet there? No, she's not.
Yes, yes. And
So Manpreet, what is wrong in this? Tell me. Well, this particular word which we have used here is an adjective. So fast is an adjective. So if I say Manpreet is a fast driver, then it is fine. Because now I am talking about Manpreet, who is a person. So Manpreet is a fast driver, is okay, because fast is qualifying Manpreet now. Who is Manpreet? Manpreet is a fast driver. But when I say Manpreet drives fast, I'm not qualifying Manpreet. I'm qualifying the activity of driving fast. Because drives is what? Is it a noun or a verb?
it's verb.
It's a verb. So I
It's a verb.
should say Manpreet drives fastly. So as per the rules, we should write an adverb here, not an adjective. An adjective is supposed to be used when we are talking about a noun. So Manpreet is a fast. When we say is, we are actually qualifying this person. So Manpreet is fast or Manpreet is a fast driver is fine. But when I am talking about the activity, it has to have an ly. Like for example, Manpreet writes slow. Is this fine? Manpreet writes slow. Is this fine? It has to be
No.
Manpreet writes
Slowly.
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 But then if I have to qualify the person, I can always say Manpreet is a slow writer. So these kind of errors are called as the errors of modifier. A modifier could be an adjective or an adverb, and depending on the situation, are we qualifying? And these are very common errors, isn't it? We were not able to figure out what is wrong with Manpreet drives fast. We generally say this. But
Yeah, this is what my question is, sir. Like, we generally say this, and we were not aware. Like, it's not a correct sentence. Like we are saying, he drives very fast. So generally, we are using this. So,
exactly.
is it's wrong?
Yeah, you look at this, like, there are two very clear modifiers, the adjectives and the adverbs. An adjective is supposed to be used when we are qualifying an object, a noun, and an adverb. So you can ask yourself whenever you are writing a sentence, I don't want you to really I don't want to confuse you or make you slower now, please. Because generally, this is not a very common error. You all are fine. So please don't become too conscious about it. But then, yeah, you need to know it and you need to apply this rule that when you are using a modifier is like something which gives extra details about something. You can ask yourself, am I talking about the activity or the person? So I'm talking about the activity in this case. When it is an activity, I have to use an adverb like the way it is. Manpreet drives fastly because drives is an activity. But then when we say is, so it is the person. Like for example, let's say, mm, give me some examples of an adjective. Like let's say Sushmita draws beautifully. I cannot say Sushmita draws beautiful, isn't it? Because now I'm talking about the act of drawing and I'm trying to qualify it. So I'll say Sushmita draws beautifully. But then if I have to talk about her drawings, so I'll say Sushmita's drawings are beautiful, isn't it? because now I am qualifying the drawing itself, the object which is a drawing. So Sushmita's drawings are beautiful, but Sushmita draws beautifully. So it's very clear actually. But then sometimes some words like this fast and fasty, we easily get mixed up with them. So you can ask yourself, am I qualifying an object or an act? If it is an act, it has to be an adverb. If it is an object, it has to be an adjective. Second type of error which happens with modifiers is the placement of modifiers. Okay, how we place them. All right, look at this sentence. Jumping out of the sea, I think we discussed it, but then let's see. Jumping out of the sea, comma, I saw a fish. What's the meaning of this sentence? Jumping out of the sea, I saw a fish. So which part is
Present
modifier?
continuous.
Which part is modifier here? Modifier means which gives some extra details about some object. Like for example here, jumping out of the sea is the modifier, right? क्या
Right.
करते हुए? समुद्र से बाहर कूदते हुए. So this is an act or this is giving extra details about something. But then the meaning of this sentence would be what? When I was jumping out of the sea, I saw a fish. मतलब मैं समुद्र में से बाहर कूद रहा था. तो भैया तुम समुद्र में रहते हो इसका मतलब. Isn't it? This becomes a little funny sentence where the person is saying jumping out of the sea, I saw a fish. So I was jumping out of the sea and I saw a fish. What he actually wanted to say was, I saw a fish, comma, jumping out of the sea. Isn't it? So what is the difference between these two?
Can't we put while in between this?
Yeah, while is also fine. I saw a fish while jumping out of the sea. But then simply in order to qualify it, even without while, this is fine. I saw a fish jumping out of the sea. This jumping out of the sea is a modifier, and the placement of modifier matters a lot. So we have put this modifier with fish here. The modifier should be near the object that is modified. Doesn't it make sense? So the placement of modifier and the type of modifier, these are the two things which are important. Sometimes we write a long sentence and the modifier comes at the end, but in between some other object comes in place. I saw Taj Mahal when we went to Agra in our car, which was beautiful. Oh my God. I saw Taj Mahal when we went to Agra in our car, which was beautiful. Now, what was beautiful? Car was beautiful or Taj Mahal was beautiful? I don't know. See, I saw Taj Mahal when we went to Agra in our car, which was beautiful. Now, which was beautiful is coming near what? The car. I saw Taj Mahal when we went to Agra in our car, which was beautiful. In our car, which was beautiful. So this means that the car was beautiful, not the Taj Mahal. So to correct this, you should put this beautiful thing with Taj Mahal. I saw beautiful Taj Mahal when we drove down to Agra in our car. Isn't it? So the placement of modifier is very, very important. Okay, so we'll see this kind of errors. Then there are questions related to pronouns. Now, pronoun is something which is used in place of a noun. It could be either singular or plural. So plural, he, she, it. These are singular pronouns, and they, them, were, or yeah, these kind of words, they constitute the plural pronoun. So there are errors related to that. And when you do this test, you will find out, we'll see how you use these pronouns. And the other type of error that comes with pronoun is a dangling pronoun. I sometimes point out telling you that it is a good idea. In the conclusion, somebody wrote that day, I think it is a very good idea and I support it. Now, what is this good idea? It is referring to what? We don't know. So when you are using a pronoun, there has to be a very clearly identifiable noun near it. Isn't it? So in conclusion, if you are saying it is a very good idea, let's say to let students study in a mixed gender school, you should have written this word mixed gender school somewhere nearby this it. Somewhere near this it, isn't it? Otherwise, this it would refer to everything in the world. So when you are using a pronoun, there has to be a clearly identifiable noun. Does it make sense? भैया प्रोनाउन यूज कर रहे हो तो कौन सा नाउन है, किसको रेफर कर रहा है, ये तो पता होना चाहिए ना, तो आसपास ही होना चाहिए. So that's the rule related to pronoun. So we are talking about I, am, P. I was illogical meaning, M was modifier, P is pronoun, A. A is one error which is very common in writing, which is subject-verb agreement.
Sorry, I have one query. Can we write like this that it is a good idea and then we put our idea? Will that make sense?
Yes. So this becomes, it refers to the idea itself. It is a good idea to train students or to let students do learn in a mixed school, or to let youngsters attend a mixed school. So this is fine because it is referring to the idea itself. It is a good idea. So that's absolutely fine. You can use that. So the next type of next rule is A, which stands for agreement, and it is subject-verb agreement. Whenever the subject is plural, your verbs should be singular. Many of my friends work at Gurgaon. So many of my friends work at Gurgaon, not works at Gurgaon. Isn't it? A friend of mine works at Gurgaon. If it is one person, then it would be works. If it is many people, then it has to be singular. So here it looks obvious, but when you write, sometimes we get mixed up about the subject-verb agreement. So that's one error. C stands for connectors, and this is also a very, very important aspect of our writing. Words like but, however, or nevertheless, or words like consequently.
Sorry, most of my friends work in Gurgaon. Is this the word?
Yeah, this is important and this is an interesting thing. Now, most, when you say most, what do you mean? Most means out of this group.
More than one.
Yeah, out of this group, this is your small part and this is your larger part, right? So we are still talking about one part, although these are many people. But when we say most, what do we mean? The high proportion of them, right? So most of my friends, in fact, most of my friends बोलेंगे तो हमें work ही बोलना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि जो last word आ रहा है, this is friends. Most of my friends work at Gurgaon. So most of my friends work at Gurgaon. लेकिन अगर आप इसी को proportion बोल दोगे ना, the highest proportion of my friends works at Gurgaon. तो highest proportion में वो बड़े वाले ग्रुप की बात कर रहा है. Highest proportion is one section of it. So most of my friends work at Gurgaon. Work would be the right word to use there, because with friends it is most of my friends work at Gurgaon. Okay, so consequently or as a result, subsequently, right? Finally, these connectors are related to the sequence of things. These connectors are related to the relationship between two, like in terms of, are we taking a U-turn or we are talking about the same thing in the same flow? So that is but, however, and nevertheless. And consequently, as a result, subsequently, finally, talk about cause and effect. So consequently, it is known fact that corona spreads from person to person. Consequently, government has given lockdown orders to 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 stop the spread of it. So so as a consequence of something or as a result of something, we make use of these kind of modifiers. And then in order to extend something, we make use of furthermore or moreover. So these kind of connectors which we use comprise the next rule. So illogical meaning, modifier, pronouns, agreement, connectors. Then T. What is the meaning of T? What is the use of T?
Tenses.
Yeah, T is tenses. We commit this error also very frequently. The tenses error. So in case you are writing about something in the past tense, you should maintain that past tense. In case it is in present, you are supposed to maintain the present tense there. So this depends on the context. You'll have to think about what kind of context are you using, and accordingly you will use the right tense to describe your idea. And the last is S, which stands for sentence structure. Now this is one thing wherein I see lots of errors, which is related to sentence structure. We unnecessarily write a long sentence to depict a very simple thought. So see, it's like this. I put in a lot of efforts to understand what you have written, but then when I try to gather what is the meaning, I see, oh, this is such a simple thing. It's like that feeling, wo bolte na, khoda pahad nikli chuya. So it's like that, you write such a long sentence to convey a very, very simple meaning. Or sometimes you put too many commas. When you get emotional about something, you do not put a full stop. You don't want to stop. Tuck, 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 tuck. It carries on. Your sentences should be as precise as possible. You should not use multiple words to convey the same thought. Then there is a problem. You will say that, well, how will we do 250 words? That is also a problem, isn't it? If you are asking us to write 250 words also, and you want us to write it precisely also. So what you can do is give more examples, give one more example or two more examples, but do not stretch a single sentence just to cover some words in your writing, because it becomes very cumbersome for the reader to gather the meaning or extract the meaning from so many words. And there are very high chances of committing some kind of error there. You forget to put a comma or a semicolon, or you like put too many commas, to just write that complex sentence. So you should refrain from writing too many long sentences. If you want to make a complex sentence, just use a modifier. That would be a good idea, isn't it? A mixed school comma. So just qualify this mixed school, a place or a learning place or a school where boys and girls learn together. So you put two commas and just qualify the mixed school. Your mixed school hota kya hai? And then talk about it. A mixed school, comma, a school where boys and girls get a chance to interact with each other and interact and learn with each other, comma, provides more opportunities to understand and develop बिहेवियरल स्किल्स. तो आप एक मिक्स स्कूल के बारे में बात कर रहे हो, लेकिन आपने उसमें एक छोटा सा क्वालिफायर डाल दिया कि मिक्स स्कूल होता क्या है, और फिर उसके बाद आपने एक लंबा सा सेंटेंस लिख दिया. तो ये एक आपने कॉम्प्लेक्स सेंटेंस बना दिया, इनफैक्ट कंपाउंड सेंटेंस बना दिया, क्योंकि कोई कनेक्टर यूज नहीं किया है, और आपने अपना सेंटेंस स्ट्रक्चर थोड़ा सा बड़ा भी कर दिया. तो दैट इज फाइन. But then writing too many long sentences, extending the ideas is not a good thing. It's a sure shot way of losing marks. So let me just revise it very quickly. The rules that we have learned are IMPACTS. This is a very simple way of remembering everything related to grammar. I mean, not everything, but yes, most of the things. I is illogical meaning. If you are writing a paragraph, make sure you entertain one thought only. M stands for modifiers. So modifiers are adjectives or adverbs. So when you are using a noun, you are supposed to use an adjective. When you are qualifying a pronoun, sorry, a verb, you are supposed to put an adverb. P stands for pronouns. So again, the case of the pronoun, whether it is singular or plural, and the placement of pronoun is important. Whenever you use a pronoun, make sure that there is a clearly identified noun that it qualifies or that it tries to replace. A stands for agreement, which is subject verb agreement. So you have to look at the subject, whether it is singular or plural, and accordingly make a sentence. C is connectors. So, depending on the type of situation, the context, whether you are extending an idea, whether you are taking a U-turn, whether you are talking about cause and effect, you have to write this right type of connector. T stands for tenses. So you have to maintain consistency of tense. If something has started in past tense, you have to maintain it in past tense. If something is in present tense, you are supposed to speak about it in present tense. Usually the letters that you write would all be in past tense, because you requested some friend to take care of your home, or you are asking for some kind of leave. So all this is in past tense. And the last is the sentence structure, which means you are supposed to write very precise, short, to the point sentences. You may write one or two complex sentences when you do this. If you take care of this, your writing would be absolutely fine from the parameters of grammatical range, grammar range, and accuracy. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to mail you a small test. Now this test is not a part of your IELTS course as such, because in IELTS they do not check grammar separately, but I still want you to work on it. So I'll be sending this test along with its answers and explanations. So I want you to take this test. This would be a 44 questions test, and wherever you go wrong, please read the explanations from this document. It would make sense to you most of the time, but then after reading the explanation, if you still think that there is some scope to discuss and we should kind of delve upon that a little deeply, we would discuss here in the class. But what I expect you to do is you should first do the test, evaluate it, and see where you have gone wrong. The explanations would also have like explanatory notes, like what is the rule and how are you supposed to think about it. There might be some technical jargon here and there, which would not make sense. So you can Google it out and see what it is trying to say, or we can discuss here in the class about those jargons in case you want to. But then I think this would really reinforce all the concepts, and it would be a great way to remember all these rules. So whenever you do this test, whenever you do a question, try to classify it in one of these groups. ये यहाँ पे क्या चेक कर रहा है, ये मेरा illogical meaning चेक कर रहा है, या modifier चेक कर रहा है, या pronoun चेक कर रहा है, या subject verb agreement. So you would classify the question first, you will categorize it in the right category, and then you would attempt that question. So I want you to write down, when you write the answers, like say question number 1, I would like you to write down whether it is, so you can, if it is a modifier question, write down modifier, and then in that Excel sheet or Word, wherever you mark your answers, write your answer, whether it is A, B, C, or D. It's going to be an objective type test, the way you do a multiple choice question, and it would be a very interesting exercise. So this is one test which is a part of SAT SAT test, wherein you get some 44 questions to be done in 35 minutes, and they are all related to grammar and writing skills. So the test itself is called as writing and language test, wherein they check your writing skills by introducing some errors in writing, and you are supposed to correct them by telling the right choice. So you would also be, so this would be a dual test. It will be checking your reading comprehension skills also, and along with reading comprehension, because there is a story going on, right? So you have to understand the story the way you do a reading comprehension passage, but along with understanding the story, you will also be required to correct some grammar errors, grammatical errors here and there, which means the questions would be of two types. Some questions would be purely for reading comprehension questions, which would mean like whether you should have this sentence or not. So you'll have to read the story and do it. And then there would be some questions related to grammar. So if you do 3-4 of these kind of exercises, you will start thinking like what, because thinking about grammar is a very difficult thing, isn't it? Grammar is something very abstract, or something which is more practice oriented than something very tangible. So thinking about grammar is difficult unless we practice grammar and we know what is the right. So we either know what is the right usage, or we don't know what is the right usage, and we get to understand the right usage only by practice, or encountering these kind of situations where we have to correct an error. So this is going to be interesting. Up until now, you were writing and sending the content to me, and I was correcting it. Now you are going to correct something written by somebody else, where he or she has deliberately added some mistakes and errors. And you would have this framework in front of you of IMPACTS while correcting them. I'm sure it will be very interesting and very fruitful exercise from the perspective of grammar, and not just from the perspective of this test. When you're writing stuff for your office, when you're writing your emails, it would be very, very useful. So I'm going to send that test to you, and I want you to do this test today. And I'm also going to send you the answers with explanations. So wherever you go wrong, be ready with your answers and explanations. Any other things anything else that we want to discuss today? Yeah, about speaking, I'm yet to schedule a session, Srishti, with you and other people in the group. So I'll tell you about that. It's there in my mind. What else? Is there anything which is left for evaluation? Have I evaluated everything which you have sent me? Your writing, letters, everything which you have sent up till now, I think I have checked it. In case it is not, just send me a message. If I don't send you the answers by the end of the day, please just send me a WhatsApp message that you have to evaluate it, or just resend it once again, so that I'll check it and send it back to you. So that is all from my side as far as this session is concerned. And if you have any questions, anything that you want to discuss, we can discuss it quickly. What I'm going to do after this is I'm going to send you that uh, test, and we are going to take this forward from there.
Yeah, I have one query not related to this.
Mhm.
Though I've replied on your email, can you please send me that book 9?
Yeah,
Is it
see,
showing
book
deleted?
9, oh, it is deleted. All right, because this remains only for 48 hours. Why don't you download it that time?
I downloaded. I don't know why it's not showing in my
Oh,
system now. So I've
okay. I'll send you a
downloaded.
link then. I'll send you a link. You can easily download. I'll send it right away
Okay,
after this.
okay. Thank you.
Okay, see you then, and do this test, and we'll discuss it tomorrow then.
Thank you.
Good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.